How's it going, guys? My name's Sean. Welcome to Venom Racing. Are you having fuel surge issues on your Honda S2000 on, let's say, long left-hand corners at the track? Or let's say you have a boosted application and on long accelerations and you're having fuel surge issues? Well, we now have a solution for that. Today we're looking at the Road Racer Products anti-fuel surge plate for your Honda S2000. And this is a product, it is an economical way to solve the fuel starvation for track and high horsepower S2000s. It's the good thing about this product, for one, it's cheap. Two, it's easy to install, and it's rounded on the side, so when you're actually installing it, you can't actually cut your finger. Trust me, I've tried. It's made out of aluminum, so when you are installing this into your S2000, you're not going to blow yourself up while installing it because it's made out of aluminum, so it won't spark when sliding it into your fuel pan. So let's go ahead and take a look at this real quick. So how does a aluminum plate like this prevent fuel starvation at the track? Alright, so inside your fuel tank, this is where your fuel pump assembly sits into. It's like a little tank. Almost looks like a little bathtub or something, but pretty much this is going to the front of the car like this. This is inside your fuel pan right here. And so what the plate does, without this plate on here, this is just an open tub. And so your fuel pump sits inside here. So if you're driving normal, I mean, you're fine. This is where the fuel actually comes into the pan itself for your fuel pump assembly. And so what happens is, let's say you're taking a high acceleration, so the plate's gonna be face backwards like this. The problem is that there's just a rounded edge on the back side of this pan for your fuel pump. So when you're highly accelerating, let's say, I mean, the rear end's gonna come back, and the fuel, let's say if you're less than 3/4 of a tank or maybe half a tank of that nature, it could actually have the fuel flow back out of this and cause fuel starvation. Also, let's say on a left-hand corner as well, a long left-hand corner with, say you have real sticky tires at the track and you're pulling over a G of G-forces, so you're taking a long left-hand corner, so the car will be tilted and the gas will sometimes actually flow out of this little pan because it does have rounded edges, fly into the rest of the gas tank, which leads to long left-hand sustained turns leading to fuel starvation. So Road Racer actually designed this product, which Road Racer is owned by my friend Chris Larson. He is a very competitive racer in the Legends cars, and he also has a supercharged S2000, which he has ran into these issues himself as well. He has a supercharged S2000 with 457 gears, and he said he ran into a lot of acceleration issues, which he's talked to a lot of other guys at the track down in Texas that ran into these issues. So he has designed this pan, which should prevent that issue from occurring. This product works by actually preventing the fuel from leaving this little fuel pan assembly. So what it does is, let's say you are accelerating. Well, this plate right here keeps the fuel around the fuel pump assembly so you don't run into fuel surge issues. Also on the left-hand turns as well, instead of the G-forces forcing the fuel out of this little pan assembly in your fuel tank, what it's going to do is it's going to prevent the fuel from actually leaving this area, so it still stays around the fuel pump assembly, so you're not going to run into fuel surge issues, which, if you're taking a long left-hand corner at fuel surge issues, that could be dangerous around the track. Let's say you're taking a corner at 80, 90 miles an hour in that range. So this is a great product. It's very economical for preventing this issue from occurring. So guys, let's go ahead and get to the install, because that's another highlight of this product. It's a very easy install. So let's get to it. First thing you're going to want to do is either remove your hard top, or you're going to have to actually go into the trunk if you have a soft top. In my case, I have a hard top S2000, which I deleted the soft top, so my install will be a little bit easier than, let's say, you had a soft top. Next thing you guys are going to want to do is pull this pan off the top of your fuel pump assembly. It kind of has a little coverage. Take out these 3 Phillips screwdriver. Alright guys, so once you get this part up, you're going to actually want to hit this clip right here and pull this clip out right here. This is your power supplies to your fuel pump assembly, and we'll just scoot that off to the side. And now we're looking at the fuel pump itself, well, assembly. not necessarily. But so what we have to do is we actually have to push these together right here. I don't know if I can do this one-handed, but these are little clips. You push those together and that just slides off. So this is some of your fuel lines right here. Also, guys, if you're doing this through a soft top and you won't have all this room to actually work. You actually come right here through the trunk, remove the trunk plastic, and you'd have to reach around, and it won't be as easy to do it this way. After you get those two fuel lines disconnected, the next thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to take a 10mm and unbolt these nuts.
These nuts? Got him!
It's right here. Then we're going to take an 8mm and take all of these bolts out right here. Alright guys, now that you have all the 8mm bolts out and the 10mm bolt out, let's go ahead and pull the fuel pump assembly out. I recommend having a nice microfiber towel around to catch any fuel that can come out. And key word, guys, try to do this with less gas than more gas. I have a quarter of a tank right now, so it will make this job a little bit easier and less of a mess. So you're going to carefully lift it out, and now you got to remember you got to almost angle it level indicator, just like so. Very carefully. The gas gauge. And that's the fuel pump assembly out of the Honda S2000 with the top.
The baby fuel pump. That's not too bad. That done works.
Alright guys, so here's from the inside of the car. And as you can see here, here's this little pan. See it all in there? This is without the fuel surge little plate. It's literally, this is the pan right here. This is what I've been trying to show y'all guys, so maybe y'all have a little bit more of an idea. So that pan sits right there around the fuel pump assembly. Here is it out of the car. This is out of actually an OEM fuel tank out of the S2000. Like I told you before, this is how Chris actually designed this plate. He found one and he actually had this little pan cut out. So here is the pan. So this is how it's going to sit inside there. This is how everything's going to be set up inside the car. Is that your fuel pump assembly is going to sit right at this angle right here, and it's going to be sitting within this plate, just like so. And this is how it's going to be set up. So you have to make sure that the orientation of the plate itself is directly placed correctly. Also, another thing too, guys, if you're running an aftermarket fuel pump, you want to make sure that the fuel pump is actually at the bottom of this pan. That might actually fix one of your issues if you are having fuel surge issues besides that. So that's how that is set up. Also, another thing, guys, if you're actually running a bigger fuel pump, 2 fuel pumps, or of that nature, though I'm running a Walbro 255, which is pretty much the same size as stock, you may or may not have to actually trim this plate up. That's another thing. But it's such thin aluminum that Chris made it to where you can get that you can actually trim it to your needs just for your fuel pump size. Another thing too as well, you want to make sure that when it sits in here, this is after you actually obviously put the pan inside the car, but here's your level right here that tells your car how much fuel level that you have. Make sure this is not obstructed by the pan at all, or then obviously you won't know how much fuel you have. So make sure that is correct as well too when setting up the orientation of the pan itself. So the next thing we're going to do is actually prep this to go inside your fuel tank. So okay, so what we're going to have to do, guys, is these little bends right here, we're going to have to bend these down to fit along that pan. Now, you do not want to bend this flush. You want to actually give yourself about 1/8 of an inch, or 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch before the bend starts. And let me show you an example. See how this actually fits on this one? It's not actually bent right at the edge where the tab starts. It actually has 1/8 of an inch before the bend begins. And the reason is it won't actually fit along the pan if you do it right along the edge. So you have to give yourself about 1/8 of an inch. Alright guys, all tabs are bent at 90 degrees. So we're going to actually install this inside the car now. So basically what's going to happen next is going to be pretty difficult to see, but here's the pan. So to get it inside there, obviously, let's take a look at the car real quick. To get it inside there, obviously, I mean, that's a small hole for this plate to get into. So we're going to have to do some modifying to the plate to actually get inside there. Good thing This plate itself is thin aluminum, so it's easily to bend. So this is how we're going to get this plate inside the gas tank. So obviously this is going to be a lot harder to do, obviously, if you have your soft top. But here's the trick. We're going to make this get inside here. And so what we're going to have to actually do is actually bend this plate like a taco. It ain't Taco Tuesday, but we're going to get it in there. Alright, so we have the plate bent as such. So we're going to bend it just enough where we can slide it into the gas tank. And we're going to... And know what I'm actually going to do? You know how it was bent like a taco? I'm actually going to straighten the plate back out now. So with my thumb, I'm actually straightening the plate back out once again. You know how we had the little tabs on the side at 90 degrees? Now I'm actually taking the edges of those tabs and going from 90 degrees, and I'm actually wrapping them around the pan itself so it's a tight, snug fit. Alright guys, I'm going to try my best to show you the plate install, but as you can see, the plate is installed inside here, and you can see where it's bent right there. I straightened it out as much as possible, but like I said before, when you slide it when you have to slide it in like a taco, you have to initially bend the plate to get it in there. But it's all in there now. All the tabs are bent, so it's, as you can see, it's sturdy in there. It's not going anywhere. I didn't blow myself up because it is aluminum. It should not rust of any nature, but that's inside the plate. Now the rest of the install, guys, is we're going to put the fuel pump assembly back in there and make sure it does not hit on anything. Now that you have all the bolts placed back in and you have your fuel lines reconnected, I would recommend not actually installing this back completely, but make sure you plug in the plug, and then you'll want to actually start up the car and prime the fuel pump and make sure that you don't have any fuel leaks of any nature around the lines. Alright, let's go ahead and start her up, guys. Alright, she's all started up, and we'll check for leaks in a second. You can only lift it up so much with the wiring harness, so I'm going to check it in myself in a second for leaks. But as you can see, wrapped up the install on John's S2000 as well, so that's two actually Road Racer products, anti-fuel surge plates installed in one day, and they literally maybe took about, mine was a little bit easier because I didn't have the hard, I have the hard top and I don't have the soft top, so it makes things a little bit easier, but granted, what, it took us about an hour to do?
Honestly, yeah, I'd say an hour, maybe just a little over an hour. Probably if you're by yourself, it'll take maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. A little bit easier when you got a buddy, when you guys can kind of, double team some things. But it really wasn't too bad of an install. I was actually kind of surprised. I was kind of expecting it to be a lot harder with the soft top. I was really expecting it to be almost 2 to 3 hours long, just because it's a little bit harder to work around with the soft top. But I'm pleasantly surprised. It's really not as hard as you guys would think. As long as you sit there and take out the trunk kind of surrounded interior, it's really not that hard at all. So I'm actually pretty pleased with how easy it was to install it.
I would say it's a great product altogether. It's a very easy to install, like John was saying. And it's a very economical product that it doesn't cost very much. And honestly, there's really no downsides to it. There's no cons, only pros.
And honestly, I will say, if you guys are going to go ahead and be swapping out your fuel pump, like so if you're going supercharged or turbocharged, I'd recommend probably going ahead and while you have your fuel pump out, going ahead and throwing one of these things in. They're only and really, at least for the peace of mind that you're going to get, especially if you're going to be taking your car to the track, this is something I definitely recommend running, because the last thing you want to do whenever you have a supercharger or turbocharger or even a stock motor and you're at the track, last thing you want to do is lose fuel pressure, because the second you lose fuel pressure, your engine's going to go lean for a second. And trust me, going lean is not good.
Well, I mean, granted, unless you have the AU Infinity, and then they compensate.
It does, but you still go lean for a split second.
Yeah, honestly, if you're going around a corner, like you're saying, 90 miles an hour or something like that, it cuts out. I mean, it's going to throw the balance of the car off, and you could potentially run off the track.
Yep. It's honestly definitely something that's I'd highly recommend. And for only an hour and a half of your time to get it installed, it's really well worth it. It's a product that I highly recommend. It's something that I'm really happy we have on these cars now, and next time we go to Hallett with both of the cars, we'll definitely be putting this thing to the test and really showing how good they work.
And honestly, Chris Larson has a very extensive background of racing and whatnot. I mean, he's, like I said before earlier, he's really into the Legends race cars themselves. So, I mean, he's done a lot of research himself, and I mean, this has been a product that's been in the works for a long, long time. So, we're glad that finally that he's actually got the product out there, and the link will be in the description. I highly recommend it, especially for the price. There's really no cons to it. I mean, should you pay that in a month if you went to Starbucks once a week? I mean,
that's right. So it's definitely worth it. And like you said, Chris Larson, not only does he have an extensive background, but he's honestly one of the best guys that I've met in the S2000 community. He's one of the friendliest guys and also one of the smartest guys that I've met as well. He definitely takes a lot of time and care for what he does and the products that he does offer. He's very serious about what he does, and so the products that he makes are very, very good. And I honestly, even though these are some of the early releases that we have here, it's a very well finished product, and it's fantastic. Honestly, I'm really surprised. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was when I rolled in. So I honestly didn't see them other than the one picture that Sean showed me until I showed up here today.
And that's another thing too. Our cars are, let's say, over 10 years old at this time. I mean, more than 10 years old, and they're still coming. Chris is actually making products for this car that, that's pretty cool actually for our cars. I mean, that are so old, and they're still making products for it. So that's a really cool thing too. So support the community as well too. So we really let us know below how you like this product. If you end up running one yourself, do you have fuel surge issues? Go ahead and like the video, subscribe for more, and
we'll see you next time.
You know what, John? We should actually put a bigger fuel pump in yours and maybe turbocharge yours at the same time. You won't.
It's official. Next video, we're putting a turbocharger on the S2000. No, just kidding.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya. Alright guys, what is going on? I'm back at Le Bleu Baffle. I've got Susan in here with me. Today we're going to be installing this fuel surge tank protector thingy, and Sean told me that he'd be here, but I don't see him right now.
What's up guys? My name is Sean. Welcome to Venom Racing, and today we're going to be installing the anti-fuel surge plate made by Road Racer Products by Chris Larson, our buddy. And so we're going to be installing it in John's S2000, which still has a soft top installed. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult. I'm already in the trunk getting started on it, but we'll go ahead and show you all the extra details that it involves versus mine, which was a little bit easier. Let's get to it, John.
Sean, how'd you get in my trunk?
We'll worry about that later.